So we're back to our composite shapes, and this time we want to find the perimeter of shapes. First, quick refresher, what does perimeter mean? Perimeter just means the length around the outside of a shape, right? So for example, for this shape, we have this side, 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 and then we have this side. So we could just add up the things that are there. That's usually how we find perimeter. We just add up the sides. 9 plus 10 plus 2 plus 6. Are we done? No, because we don't know what this side is or what this side is. Now, if you already watched the video on composite area, finding the area of composite shapes, you will know that we found some of these sides, right, in that video. And we're going to use the same process here. So for example, we know that this side length is 10, right? And this side length is 6. If we want to find what this length is, we can use those numbers because these sides are all parallel to each other. They're all across from each other, right? So if we look at it like this, if we create a little separate rectangles like this, we know that this length here, this length here is 6. So that means this length here must also be 6, right? From here to here. So what is this length going to be? Because this length is going to be the same length as this length, right? Because they're opposites of each other. If this is 10 and this is 6, 6 plus something is going to give us 10, right? And we can find that this is 4 meters, right? Because 6 plus 4 is going to give us 10. So that means this length up here, make sure it erases. This length up here is 4 meters as well, because it's opposite, right? So we found this missing length. Can we find this missing length? Well, let's look at the side across from it. The side across from it is 9, and it goes this whole distance, right? So if this is 9, and this over here is 2, what's going to be left over? And if it helps, you can obviously draw the dotted line, like I did for the other one, right? If this we know here is 2 meters, and this is 9. 2 plus what will give us 9? Well, you should see that it's 7, right? So this length here has got to be 7. And if this has got to be 7, this has also got to be 7. So over here, this one is 7 meters as well, right? So now, do we have the lengths to find the perimeter? Well, we do. We have all those yellow lengths, the ones I highlighted in yellow, right? So the perimeter, we're just going to add those up. I'm going to start with the 9, plus then I'm going to go to the bottom, 10, plus the one on the right, plus 2, plus 6, plus 7, plus 4. If we add those all up, we should get 38 centimeters. Now you notice, why didn't I add this 2 or this 4 or this 6? Well, keep in mind that we're only adding up the outside lengths, right? We're not adding up any of these inside lengths when we're finding the perimeter, right? So these 2 and 4 were just used to help us find these other lengths. You only need to add up the ones, and that's why I usually recommend when you're finding the perimeter, highlight the perimeter of the shape so you know for sure which lengths to include. So that is the perimeter. Moving on to the next question. This one looks a little bit more complicated maybe, and it might help to divide this one up into its separate parts, right? So what shapes are here? If you look carefully, maybe let's go like this, and it might help you see what shapes there are. Do you see how that's a semicircle and a rectangle? So if we had to find the area of these, we could do that, but again, this isn't a video but area. That was the last video. So this video, we're just trying to find the perimeter. So remember what we're trying to do. The perimeter means the side lengths, adding them all up of the outside. So we got to add this length, and this length, and this length, and also this curved length around here, right? Well, we know this length over here is 6. Oops, switch to my pen. This length over here is 6, right? Because the opposite side is 6, right? These two are 6. So we know that this is 6 and 14 and 6. Do we include this one in the length, by the way? In the perimeter? We don't, because it's inside the shape, right? We only include the ones that I highlighted in yellow. Can we find this curve length out here? Well, how do we find the length along a circle? Remember, we have an equation for that. And this, sort of that curve length, we can call the circumference, right? Remember, the circumference is just the perimeter of a circle. Now, this is half a circle, right? We have a few formulas. So circumference equals pi times the diameter, for example. But since it's only half of a circle, we can divide that by 2. So the circumference is pi times d, pi times the diameter, divided by 2. Well, do we know the diameter of this circle? It'd be nice if we knew this length right here. That's the diameter. Well, if we look, we know this is 14, so this must also be 14. So that means the diameter must be 14, right? Do you see that? So if we want to find the circumference of the circle, it's going to be 3.14 times diameter, which is 14, divided by 2. We can do 3.14 times 14 divided by 2, which is 21.98 meters. And remember what this is. This is this curve length right here. That whole curve length, this length right here, is 21.98 meters. So I want you to pause the video right now, see if you can find the perimeter of the entire shape, and then unpause to see the answer. So there's the answer I got, 47.98. Notice how I did not add this 14 here, right? Because that's not on the outside of the shape, it's on the inside. We got to add the 6, the 14, the 6, and then the 21.98. There we go. Last question. Can we find the perimeter of this shape? Now again, if you're having trouble figuring out what kind of shape this is, break it up into smaller shapes. If you draw a line like this, you can see this is a triangle and a square, right? We know this is 8, we know this is 8. What's this side going to be? Well, it's also going to be 8, right? Because it's across from that other side. So if we're trying to find the perimeter, we know this is 7, 8, 8, 8, and then this length. Do we know this length? We don't, right? We don't know what it is. I'll give you a hint, though. That's a right angle. Do you see where I'm going with this? Can we find that? Okay, I'll give you another hint. This side length here, even though it's not part of the perimeter, we still know that it's 8, right? Because it's across from this 8 over here. So if this is 8 and this is 7, can we find this length? Okay, I'll give you another hint. What if we draw this shape, this triangle, this right angle triangle, 8, 7, and question mark. What about if I drew that like that? Do you know how to find that missing side? You should be thinking Pythagorean theorem. Whenever you have a right angle triangle that you're trying to find a missing side, Pythagorean theorem, right? So you should be able to find that missing side using the Pythagorean theorem. Remember, you can do it whatever way you want. You can use the equation, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, or you can do it by finding the areas of the squares, right? And then doing it that way. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pause the video, or I want you to pause the video in a second. I want you to try finding that length and then finding the perimeter of the whole shape. When you're done, unpause it and I will show you the answer. There we go. The answer should be 41.63 yards. So if you didn't get that, double check your work. So over here, I found that the side length here of this, the longest side of this right angle triangle, the hypotenuse, is 10.63. And I did that by finding the area of this square, finding the area of this square, adding them together, taking the square root. Okay, so that means this length here is 10.63, right? Then what I did is I highlighted the whole perimeter in yellow, right? So we want to find the perimeter is this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. And then I just added them up. 7 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 10.63. It gave me 41.63. Notice how I did not include this 8 because it's not part of the perimeter. So in general, sometimes in order to find the perimeter, just like for the area, you need to sometimes find the missing side first. Okay, and you could use the Pythagorean theorem for that, or like we did in the first question, you just might need to sort of subtract opposite sides, and sometimes you need to use the circumference if there's a circle involved, or half of the circumference in this case. Okay, so keep all of those things in mind when you're trying to solve problems like this.